introduction. Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, everyone. I am going to have the privilege of introducing you to this amazing panel, and I have to tell you, it's an honor for me to be amongst this group of women. Some I've known for some years, some I've met today, but all at the end of this morning session, I guarantee you'll be impressed by. I have been very fortunate and blessed to have a career that has been really successful for me. I've had ups and downs, but just like all of you, we've seen some good times and we've seen some bad times. But I can legitimately say most of my wonderful accomplishments have come after my 40s. And the growing network of sister friends has been really one of the most fantastic byproducts of that. I can sincerely tell you that I'm living my best life. I wrote it down at this age. You know, years ago when I hosted The View, there was a young actress who every year she would come on and promote one of her movies. I'm sure you'll remember a young actress who really broke out, Dakota Fanning. She was one of the best, she is still one of the best, and she would write thank you notes. And every year she'd put Dakota Fanning, comma, 6, comma, 7, comma, 8. And for 9 years, we interviewed this young lady, and she would put what her age was, and it was so interesting. I kept thinking to myself, can I do that? So yes, Star Jones, comma, 55 years old. So I'm very happy about that. And I think to myself, when it comes to living your best life, what makes you happy? Your family is good, your health is good, your relationship is good, and your friendships are good. So right now, I am proud to introduce people who I think are living their best lives no matter what ages they are. Let me first start to my far left. The young lady to my far left is Cadet Simone Askew, who I usually don't like to read everybody's bio because you can get it, but y'all gonna need to hear about this young sister. The first African-American woman to lead the 4,400 Corps of Cadets at the United States Military Academy at West Point, y'all. She received BWA's Pinnacle Award. An international history major from Fairfax, Virginia, Simone assumed the highest position in the cadet chain of command last month. As first captain, she is responsible for the overall performance of the Corps of Cadets, as well as serving as a liaison between the cadets and the military schools administration. This right here is going to be somebody one day that commands our troops, it keeps us safe, and sits on the wall. We're happy to have you, Simone. Immediately to her left is the phenomenal woman herself. I think when you read that poem, you just see her face. It jumps out. Nikki Giovanni, let's give her a round of applause. American poet, writer, activist, and educator. I love that she is a Southern person born in Knoxville, Tennessee. However, Midwest in the house. She grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, where she started the city's first fine arts festival. Arts have always been a part of Nikki's life, with a career that has spanned over 50 years. Her numerous awards include 19 honorary doctorates, yes. Okay, that's because they want to have her in their house. That's what we're talking about. Woman of the Year awards from 3 different magazines, keys to more than 24 American cities. She's the honorary member of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and of course, one of Oprah Winfrey's 25 living legends. 7 NAACP Image Awards, and currently University Distinguished Professor at Virginia Polytech Institute and State University. Please welcome Nikki Giovanni. Next to Nikki is Claudia B Jones, Senior Vice President of Public Affairs and Communications at AT&T. She keeps us in touch. Claudia, prior to joining AT&T in 1996, was the chief spokesperson and public relations manager for Ricoh Corporation's U.S. operations and an adjunct professor at Seton Hall University, where she taught graduate level public relations writing and effective communication classes. holds a master's degree in corporate and public communications from Seton Hall University and a bachelor's degree in political science from Rutgers University. Welcome, Claudia. To my far right is Taz Knee Dubois, PhD, the 17th president of Shaw University and the newly appointed executive VP and COO of Howard University. Yes, indeed. Taz Knee is very proud of her new appointment at Howard University, and she is recruiting already. You should have heard her put the arm on Simone in the back to tell her, if you're about to be a Rhodes Scholar, come join our other Rhodes Scholars right there at Howard University. But she served as the 17th president of Shaw University, and she is credited with Shaw's first enrollment increase in 6 years and the closing of $4 million fundraising gap. Bravo. An entrepreneur, Dr. Dubois co-founded Tea and Honey Blends, a hair care company, and co-owned downtown Raleigh's Element Beauty Bar. She's a PhD in physical organic chemistry from NC State University and an MBA from Rutgers and a BS from Shaw University. Taz Knee, welcome. And to Taz Knee's left is Michelle E. Banks, president of Essence Communications. Okay, so Michelle, I'm gonna confess something. When I was 8 years old, the only thing I wanted, 3 things in my whole life. I only wanted to be Diana Ross, so I could change my wigs, which you know I got to achieve. I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be on the cover of Essence magazine. And that is what little black girls wanted to do. So we are proud that you are president of Essence Communications. Since you took the helm, Essence has expanded its reach and evolved in its offerings through innovative brand extensions spanning digital, television, live event, and social media platforms. And prior to joining Essence, Michelle had a 15-year career at Time Inc. and has served as a corporate business manager for Condé Nast, 13 titles. Welcome, you keep us really at the forefront of all issues. And now I get to say hello to Linda Goler Blunt, okay? Okay? She told me, no, it's Blount, okay? And then I said, well, I'm gonna call you Blunt. What your mama say? No, it's so Linda is president and CEO of the Black Women's Health Imperative. She makes Black women's health her front burner issue every single day. With more than 25 years of experience in the public, for-profit, and nonprofit sectors, Linda has a distinguished career that includes successful tenures at the Coca-Cola Company, leading strategic business initiatives, and the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. She is an expert scientist. Exactly. Let's welcome Linda and all of the panelists one more time, please. Ladies, let's jump right in. Michelle, I'm going to start with you. How do you think friendships and relationships differ as we're aged, since we all say we are living our best lives?
Thank you, Star. It's wonderful to be here. You know, I believe that, you know, our friendships and relationships, the longer we live, the more we know how important they are. We know that when we think back in our lives about what we've accomplished, I know for myself, if I think about my personal achievements, my failures, and then how I was able to overcome those failures, at each and every point along the way, I could point to a person, a friend, my mother, my father, an aunt who stood in the gap. And you realize over time that that's no accident, that that's God working through people. And you get wiser about that reality in your life, and you realize when those angels are standing right before you and how blessed you are and how that carries you through. So I believe over time you deepen that understanding and know that as you deal with where you are today, you actually look for those angels because they're right there.
Sounds like wisdom comes with a little bit of aging. And an appreciation for the wisdom of others outside of your own circle. Linda, I love seeing social media posts and videos about women in their 50s or even their 60s who are super healthy and super fit. There is nothing like watching a bodybuilder in her 60s and you just say to yourself, let me take my butt to the gym, okay? I used to weigh 300 pounds until I made health an imperative for me. I'm very proud that over the last 15 years, I've been able to keep off 150 pounds. So I'm very proud of that initiative. But what we all want to know, what is your best tip for health at any age?
Well, thank you, Star, and it's great to be here. You know, we're oriented toward looking at diseases and preventing diseases, and I feel, and at the Black Women's Health Imperative, we feel Black women are more than diseases. That is not who we are, and I don't think we see each other that way. But I think what we've learned from the research and what we hear from Black women every day is stress. That is the driving force. So just by a show of hands, has anybody in this room ever been under stress? Oh, okay.
I'm under stress right now.
I just want to make sure I'm in the right room. But for Black women, for so many reasons, we have generational stress that goes back, frankly, 400 years. We've got the stress of what's happening today, seeing our children killed on video, on social media, seeing what's happening in our community. And so we know that stress leads to a whole host of other diseases and disease processes. The best thing we can do for ourselves is take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. My organization started 35 years ago as a self-care movement, and today we still need to take care of ourselves. And Michelle, I like what you said about friends. You know, you gotta have your friends, keep your friends close. They help calm you down. They will tell you the truth, and we need to hear the truth, but they will also encourage you. So the best thing we can do is breathe deeply, don't take things too seriously, and love the people around us, and let them love us.
What a wonderful piece of advice. I can tell you, no matter how bad it seems, the sun is still gonna come up tomorrow.
Every day.
It absolutely is going to come up tomorrow. Whether or not you wanna wake up and see it, that's on you. Taz Knee, as a member of the 40 Over Club, are you here yet? Are you at the 40 plus?
I am not there yet, Star. I've got a few years to go.
Okay, stop bragging, okay? But as a member of the 40 plus club here, I look to women who are coming there and wonder if you've seen career changes, even in your 20s and your 30s, that you are looking forward to in your 40s and your 50s.
Thanks, Star. I've had a really accelerated career. I've been blessed to parlay across corporate and academia, and that foundation started with getting an education at an HBCU. And from there, I've gone to work at a chemical company called BASF, and played several roles there, including procurement and also being a bench chemist. I moved on to entrepreneurship, where I owned a hair care company, and then I wanted to give back to young people, and so I went to Shaw University to teach. So I was a chemistry professor, climbing a ladder from professor to president within 5 years.
Wow. Bravo.
I tell young people all the time, I say, what you have to do is be bold. And in particular, I enjoy empowering young women because very often I find that we lack the confidence that we need in order to promote, self-promote, and in order to move to the next level. So I always show up in the room with my authentic self, and I always ensure that I never let it be said that Taz Knee has ever put down another woman in the room. And so,
please say that again. I want everybody to hear that. Taz Knee, say that again.
I want to ensure that it's never said that Taz Knee put down another woman in the room. And that was a lesson. I learned that very early in my career. I didn't want to be that person. And so I ensure that, as I look towards where I want to be in my career, I always find that it's in a setting where I'm empowering young people. Mm-hmm. And so now it is that I've taken that type of empowerment to Howard University. And I've been there for 11 days, so don't ask me what I'm going to do next. But certainly, I know that it will involve educating young people, and it will involve empowering young women.
Fantastic. I mean, there is no question that a rising tide lifts all boats. And so Thank you so much for your leadership. And speaking of empowering young women, Simone, I come over to you. Being a woman in a male-dominated space is never easy. Do you think these challenges will get easier with time?
For me, personally, ma'am, absolutely not. As I graduate, I will be a commissioned second lieutenant in the Army, and I seek to pursue a military intelligence career, but I will first branch detail into the armor branch. And if any of you guys are familiar with the progression of the Army, infantry as well as armor is a branch that is recently open to females in general. I'm aware of one former graduate who is an African American female in this branch, so I will make two. So as you go along and you continue to put yourself in uncomfortable environments, it will never get easier being a Black woman in these settings, but the important thing is to understand that is in these uncomfortable environments, not only that we grow as individuals, but that we teach others. So especially at West Point, there is a different narrative that I am able to provide the majority of these men, a majority of these women, and even to Black young women at West Point that they might not have heard ever before. And I think that's the significance of every single person in this room, is that we have the fellowship within this conference room, at this conference, but when this conference is done, we are leaving to go share these truths with other people who don't and are not fortunate enough to hear what we are saying as a collective.
Fantastic, absolutely. And Simone, I'm just as a small follow-up, you are entering into a portion of your career that is not just male-dominated. You will be the first again and again and again.
Potentially, yes, ma'am.
And by the way, she's saying ma'am out of respect, not out of age. So, Nikki, I'm going to come to you. What has changed or happened as you have matured that makes you think, oh my goodness, no one told me that was going to happen?
I just realized I'm probably the wrong person to be sitting here.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm 74 years old, so we...
If there was ever an example of Black don't crack, this would be it, okay?
And I like that. I think 74 is a good idea. But I do recommend it.
The alternative is not good.
There's nothing wrong with the alternative, Star, because one of the things I've been dealing with lately, that's how I realize I'm not your winner here, because I don't care what people think, and I know I should, but I really don't give a shit. I don't.
Bless your heart.
And what I've been interested in, if I could take up probably more time than you've allotted me, is that we know when we have a garden, we put fertilizer, and the fertilizer makes something grow. Well, it's the same thing with people, that the people who have come before us, not the people who ran, I'm not against the people who ran, I'm not against Frederick Douglass or any of those people, but the people who stayed fertilized our community. And we don't give enough credit to the people who stayed. And I'm all in favor. If I was a slave, I probably would, well, no, I doubt it, actually. If I was, I think I'd be, if I was a slave, I think I'd be trying to do what I think people did, is find out what it is that I can do that I can be proud of. Mm-hmm. We do not allow that man to come in from picking cotton and say to the woman he is married to and that he loves, babe, I picked six bags. We don't allow him his pride, and yet we know he had pride. And we don't allow her to say, honey, you should have seen that cake I made today. But you know that she was proud of the cake she made. Am I making sense here?
100%.
And I think it's so important that what I'm now calling the person who stayed. Because the people who stayed built the communities, built the churches, built the schools. These were great people, and we have not given them credit because what we know are the people who left. As I say, I'm not against the people who left, but the people who stayed are incredibly important. And I'm a big fan. We were just talking about, I'm a big fan of space, and I know for all of us who deal with children, with young people, I know that we have to find that thing between middle passage. Without middle passage, we would not have a space program. I used to say that a long time ago, and people weren't paying attention to me. But I was so happy with Hidden Figures, because we know that without black women, we wouldn't have had it. Absolutely. It's true. And we know that whatever brought us through middle passage, we know it was a song. We know it had to be a black woman. And whatever that strength was, whatever that curiosity was, whatever that love was, that's what it's going to take to space. So I was laughing with my class the other day because I was saying, and it's true, and I mean no disrespect, and I hope nobody misunderstands. But if I went to space, and it has to be a black woman, because black women are curious. And I know if I went into space, if I had been in Saturn, if I had been in that second ring, I know I would have screwed the life form that's there. I would have, because wow, how long, who gets a chance to screw a Saturn? Well, you have to.
That actually does answer my question. That answers my question. When you get to a certain age, why didn't anybody ever tell me that? I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know you were going to want to screw a Saturnian.
Well, we know we're going to screw Martians. I just think we have to keep reminding ourselves that there are things going on that only black women, in all fairness to everybody, that only we discover, because look at what we have discovered. And I will say, Star, the one thing I hate, and I think it's only fair to say it, I really hate Kentucky Fried Chicken, because we all know there's not a white man on God's earth that ever fried chicken. You know that. You know that.
So the question of, oh my goodness, no one told me this would happen, has to be that I would be my authentic self when it comes to you, and really not give a good flip if you can't handle authenticity. I think that's really where it is at this point.
I think that women, period, are important, because I live in Appalachia. And we know, again, speaking of history, it won't affect you because you're doing international, but we know that as we look at the Appalachian Trail, we know, speaking of slaves that did escape, that they went up that trail, and we know that the quilts were hanging out and the lights were hanging out. So somebody had to hang them out. That had to be white women. We also know that those women who did that were hanged, were beaten. We know that. And white men are always saying, oh no, we love our women, but they just shot one in Charlottesville, didn't they? They knew that she was white. When they didn't shoot her, they ran over her. They shot Louisa. Right. They've killed. When the white women don't do what they want done, they kill them. And I think that we need to talk about that also, that this is a part of the history that we need to remind ourselves. White women have been our friends. We've seen it now. And we also know that they get killed. When they don't do what white men want, they get killed. So there's a history going on. I probably have said this so badly. I have a book. Let me try this, and I must shut up. My new book is called A Good Cry. And so you were talking about stress. But see, I think, and this is what my doctor and I are arguing about, I don't think I have stress. He says I have stress. I think, Gregory, he's cute, so it's always fun to talk to Greg. But I don't think it's stress. I think I never learned to cry. And so on Saturday nights when my father would beat my mother, I never learned to cry. I held it in, and I held it in, and I held it in, and I ended up with a seizure. And I think that the reason I had seizures, but I never learned to cry. And so I'm betting, Greg, if I live long enough, that there's going to be a disease called the Nikki. I think that would be nice to have a disease named after you. Everybody wants something. I want a disease. And when you get the Nikki, it'll be because you haven't learned to cry. Because right now, if I sat here and cried, somebody would say, oh, baby, don't cry. But actually, what you should be saying is, hell, you should cry. Somebody should hold you. You should cry, because then you get it. Am I making sense? So my new book is called The Good Cry. And I'm just saying this. I don't think it's a great book or anything. I just like the idea that Why don't we encourage each other to cry? Why don't our girlfriends say, no, it's all right, baby, cry? Because if we don't let it out, it's going to be in, and you're going to be 74 years old, and you're going to have a seizure. Now, I do like hospitals, in all fairness. Hospitals are like grandmothers to me. You know, they come in the morning, how's my baby today? You know, I love hospitals. But I do. But I also know, or I really feel, if I had learned to cry 30 years ago, I would not have had the problem. And so I'm not embarrassed about it or anything. I just think that, one, I really do, I'll say it again, I like being in my 70s. I hope I make it next year. Because, you know, you'd like to feel like 75 is really a cool age. And, you know, you feel like, okay, I can go, well, at 75, you can run up debt because you're going to die anyway, so what the hell?
Well, okay, so Nikki, I can take it back at that point and say, don't count on it, because my grandmother turned 99 last week, and she had a reception for folk to come by to kiss her ring, so let me be very clear. And told us to start planning 100. So don't run up no debt right now, not right now. Claudia, I'm gonna go to you. What is the one stereotype about aging that drives you crazy?
I think if any of us have gone into a store and bought hand cream or anything, frankly, everything now says anti-aging. You can't avoid seeing that. You know, aging is inevitable. It's going to happen. And what bothers me is it now has this perception of being something that's bad, as opposed to something that's being what it is, which is a gift. I mean, any day that we have on this earth is a gift. And aging, to me, is, it's a journey. It's a journey through stages. It's a journey through years and time. And if we're fortunate in that journey, we can find our true self at some point. And so, you know, when someone says, oh, you're aging, or if you go in the store and you see something that says anti-aging, just don't believe it. You know, be proud of every year. Be proud that you're aging. And that's the thing that bothers me the most. It has a real negative connotation now, when it should really be a positive.
Absolutely. I honestly, listen, I had open heart surgery in 2010. The real kind where they take your heart out of your body for 22 minutes, and then they had to put it back in. The alternative to anti-aging was not good for me. So I'm not a fan of anything anti-aging.